Let me bring Graeme in. Graeme, you've been one of the great players this country has ever seen, a terrific manager as well. So you've been on both sides of this fence. And I listened to you this morning on TalkSport. Very interesting stories you were telling about your time at Liverpool and when similar things had happened to you and how you reacted and felt. What do you make of all this? Was Cristiano Ronaldo entitled to come out and have this say in this interview with me?
Well, that revelation that we've just watched, United will come out and deny it. They have to. They've not shown compassion at such a terrible time for
not believing him.
Ronaldo.
That his daughter was in hospital.
They have to come out and deny that. I mean, my take on that, whenever I was managing, I would leave it entirely up to the individual if their family were having a baby, if their wives were having a baby. So I'll leave it until you take as much time as you need, or if there's an illness in the family, take as much time as you need. We'll see you when we see you. So I'm sure United will come out and deny that. They will have another side to that story. I get Ronaldo's argument. I think as much as people think they shouldn't cut him some slack, Ronaldo has a standing in the game which is quite unique.
Is he the best player there's been?
There's a real argument for him. I mean, I personally think it's him or Messi. His stats would suggest it's him. The fact he's done it in different leagues would go in his favour as well. But there's no doubt about it. He can sit in the room with anyone that's ever played football and say, you know what, I think I'm the best that's ever played. And there's a real argument for that.
And does that give you...
No, it doesn't. I know what you're going to say.
Does it give you any special entitlement?
I think it has to. I think Ronaldo still has so much to offer, not just in the playing sense, but what he gives you in the dressing room. I consistently say, Piers, that you have no chance of being successful unless you have good senior pros.
Right.
He's a consummate.
He's still got, it seemed to me, I sat with him for nearly 2 hours. He's still got this hunger burning inside him to win more big trophies, to break more records, to be more successful. And what he really craves is an environment around him that can enable all that to happen. And he feels he just hasn't got that at United. And a lot of it, he said, is down to poor structure and management of the club.
He's spot on. I mean, this is not... Whenever I talk about United, the United supporters are up in arms. What do you expect from someone who played and managed Liverpool? But I think United have been mismanaged further up the tree. I think they've consistently got the football decisions wrong, and that's why they find themselves in this dilemma. I think, getting back to Ronaldo, I think Ronaldo, when he came along, I was all for it. And
when he came back?
Yeah, when he came back. I mean, there was nobody in that dressing room. There was nobody in that dressing room that younger players would look up to and say, I want to be like him in 10 years' time. He was the ultimate pro you could have got in to correct that. 18 goals last year in the Premier League. I think it was that one more than
Harry Kane?
Yeah, that in itself. So he is that good, that special, you come up with a system to suit him. What I believed has happened, this is my belief. So without venturing into what we just witnessed with the, these tragedies and the baby dying and the other baby becoming ill, that you'd have to cut him some slack. But I'm sure United will have a different story. But I believe when he says he wants to leave, there was a meeting at the start of the season, there's a meeting would have taken place between the manager and Cristiano. After that meeting, they've both left the room with an understanding that it's going to work. United start the season losing to Brighton and then losing to Brentford badly. I think at that moment, the manager and the coaching staff thought, we cannot go down the road of using Ronaldo. There was a feeling that maybe he couldn't do the hard yards. So from that point on, I think Cristiano would have realised that he's been around the block many, many times. So basically, Ronaldo will feel right now that he's been told a story. Someone has not kept a word, which is the manager. And
I don't know if you've ever had a moment, Graeme, and I had a moment rather famously last year when I had a little falling out with my employers and I felt I was being disrespected by people I work with, and I did this. And I, to be honest, don't regret doing that at all. So I kind of get, let me go back to Henry for a moment. I kind of get that if you're Ronaldo, one of the great players to ever play the game, and you feel disrespected professionally in terms of what is happening on the pitch and the way you're being used, being benched, being dropped, being publicly scolded, the mixed messaging of Ten Hag not bringing him on against Manchester City when they got a thumping, and saying he did it out of respect for Ronaldo, and then literally a week later trying to bring him on with 3 minutes left when they're winning 2-0 against Tottenham, apparently showing the complete opposite attitude. If you feel there's been this build-up of all this kind of disrespectful stuff towards you, and you have in the background this awful personal stuff going on as well, and you feel that the club has even doubted your word about some of that, I can see how we've reached this point where he feels enough and has come out all guns blazing.
The truth in football is always out there on the pitch, and Graeme, as a former manager and a former player, I mean, makes a very pertinent point that Ten Hag, the new coach, clearly felt that Ronaldo couldn't put in, to use Graeme's phrase, very apt phrase, he couldn't put in the hard yards on the pitch. And the Premier League particularly is such a gruelling assignment now. It's just all about stamina, it's all about pressing, and with respect to one of the greatest players who's ever played, Ronaldo at 37 wasn't going to be doing the pressing that was required. He's clearly a superior player to Rashford, but Rashford would run himself into the ground for the team. So I think, look, there were other issues there. I think not coming off the bench when he was asked to. I mean, Graham's been in the dressing room. I don't know how Graeme would have reacted if any of his Liverpool players had refused to come off the bench. And then going down the tunnel and this element that it's all about me, when in fact...
Well, he does say to me... Yeah, look, he does...
Absolutely embodied in his Liverpool teams that it's all about, it should all be about the team.